Yo guys, what's up and welcome to another best tutorial here with your man B-Boy Sambo. And in this video, I will learn you the easiest and smartest way to learn a windmill handstand. If you can do a windmill to handstand, you will unlock combos like windmill 90s, windmill 2000s, windmill airflares, and all of that. So first of all, if you're not able to do a windmill or a handstand, this video is a complete waste of time for you. So make sure you can do a good windmill and a good handstand to learn how to go from a windmill to a handstand. If you need help on windmills or a handstand, then I definitely recommend you to watch my tutorials on the windmill or on the handstand. Also, on my channel, you will find tons of other tutorials and a whole lot of breaking content. So make sure you hit the subscribe button right here. Nice subscribe button. So hit that button right there to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all my latest videos. So we're gonna start this off by rolling backwards and try and push up all the way up to a handstand. You do need a decent amount of strength to push yourself off. That's why you need to have a good handstand. Also, while doing this, you're gonna pull your legs in and kick them out to create a hop or a pump to push yourself up. Make sure your legs and your arms work together at the same time, synchronized to get your weight all the way up. If you can roll backwards to a good handstand, manage to stay up there for a while, then that's a really good start to learn windmill to handstand. If this is still hard, then I will actually recommend you to train that first before moving on with the other steps. All right, next up is we're going to start from a backspin or what I call a ninja kick position. From this position, you're actually creating a little bit of speed, but let's just say you're using 10% of the actual speed you would use if you would do a normal backspin. As I'm executing half a windmill or a backspin, I'm placing my hands to the side as I would do in a normal windmill and not to the back as we have first done in the first rollback exercise. What we are doing is still pulling our legs in to create the push we need to go up. So if you manage to coordinate the arms and the legs at the same time, you should be able to get out of this backspin or windmill position really easy. Hopping from your windmill or your backspin out onto your feet is actually the technique we are going to use from going from a windmill to a handstand. Now, if you manage to do this combo, the biggest problem is it's so easy that people are going to use speed. But if you still have to learn the windmill to handstand transition, then cut down on the speed. We're gonna go from 10% to 3% of your speed. Because if you're kicking too fast, you're gonna spin to the side. But what we actually wanna do is roll to the back all the way into your handstand. So now we're gonna try and go from the ninja kick position straight into the handstand. You want to use even less speed for this. The less speed you use, the easier it will become for you to get into that handstand. Because what we're doing at this point is not a backspin. We're actually rolling to the back into our handstand. So 3% of your actual speed. Create a little bit of rotation, roll backwards over your shoulder, push the floor with your hands at the same time as your legs kick out. At this point, the most common mistake is the arms that get all tangled up. And I used to have this problem as well. I would actually manage to get into a handstand, but my arms would be all tangled up, and that would make it really hard to continue into a 90 or into an airflare or into whatever. So this is the trick. You push up, and the moment your body is heading towards that handstand is the moment you already have to start walking. A lot of people push up, get tangled up, and because they've been tangled up for so long, they instantly lose balance and control. So what you want to do is push up, and while you're still on your way up, you want to create those steps to make sure you do not lose balance or control. This is the key for learning windmill to handstand. And this is something I figured out after a lot of hard work. And if you manage to start moving on time, then you'll probably get a real handstand out of it. And this is good news because if you can do this, this means that you're really close to the windmill 90s or windmill 2000s or windmill airflares or windmill whatever. So this is the part you have to practice the most. Rolling back up into that handstand and trying to connect it with a spinning handstand or maybe even already a 90 or a 2000 or even an airflare. Just make sure whatever move you put behind this, that you pass through a good and stable handstand. And I'm gonna tell you guys straight up, the guy who actually explained me how to go from a windmill to a handstand is no one other than B-Boy Omar from the Jive Turkeys, first BC1 champ. And I saw this guy at IBE 2003 and he was giving like power move workshops, and he actually told me that if you wanted to go from a windmill to an airflare, that you had to pass through the handstand. And you know, it sounds pretty logical, logic now, but back in the days, like, who knew? So I just want to give a big shout out to Omar from Jive Turkeys. I don't know if he would be watching this video. Why would he need to watch this video? But if he would be watching this, big shout out to you, my man. You're a big inspiration, and I wouldn't be doing this if you wouldn't explain me how to do it. All right, so shout out to you, bro. Credits are due. All right, so we're gonna move on. So how do we actually convert the ninja kick or backspin position to an actual windmill? This isn't the hardest part. You actually pass the hardest part. Right? So if we're starting from a windmill, what you want to do is you want to start from your baby freeze position. You want to create the rotation you would usually do, but when you hit the floor with your back, you want to pull those legs in because we want to create double the pump you would usually do for any other move. By creating a really big pump, you'll manage to gather enough bounce and strength to get all the way up there. But don't forget, once you're pushing up, the first thing you have to do is start walking before you lose control. There's no point in training this fast. You have to be able to do it slow. If you can do it slowly, then you'll finally manage to do it faster and faster and faster and start to get that flow. But the most important thing here is that you get up to the handstand and you manage to hold that handstand. If you're doing something that really looks the same, but you're not mastering that handstand, you gotta go back to the ninja kick or the backspin position. And if you can't do that, you gotta go back to the roll back to handstand. And if you can't do that, you gotta go back to handstand. Logic, right? And once you're in a stable handstand, you're absolutely free to do whatever you want. You could do a 90, a 2000 airflare, or even like an airflare 1.5. It's all good. The choice is all up to you. So while practicing this, you want to take your time, you want to use your brains, and of course, you have to be really, really patient. And if you don't have any patience, then practice more. Aight?